Okay. All right. So a couple of days ago, a friend of mine called me, and she said she does her meditation in the morning. She said, this morning I woke up and my husband was coughing. She said, then I got up to do my meditation and I sat down and did my meditation. And she said, and I thought about him coughing. And I thought about the meaning of him coughing and whether that could possibly mean he had the coronavirus. And then I thought about what would happen. What hospital could I take him to? And would the hospital be full? And where was the closest hospital? Then I thought about, and this is really true, then I thought about, what if he dies? What do I do with my boys if he dies? And then she talked about thinking about different things she could do with her boys if he died. And maybe I could bring him home to my parents. How well do they get along with my parents? Do my parents have room for them? And then she did some more of that, and the timer rang. She'd been sitting for 20 minutes in a coronavirus anticipation trance. I don't know if that's happened to any of you recently, but it could. It could. She's a regular meditator. She's a serious meditator. So in challenging times, in difficult times like these, we can use mantras and gathas, and that's what I want to talk about today: mantras and gathas. Mantra. I want to talk about mantras first, and then gathas. Most of you are familiar with mantras. Maybe not so many of you gathas. Mantras, syllables or groups of words that have psychological and spiritual resonance. Started 3,000 years ago in the Vedas, 3,000 years ago. Mantra is an abbreviation of mind, and tra means protection. So we're protecting the mind. Our original still mind is always here, but our worries and fears leak out. They leak out so much that my friend had spent her whole meditation anticipating what would happen to her husband. And it turned out that he just had a cough, by the way. He just had a cough for 2 minutes. No symptoms, no flu, nada. So mantra, original still mind, always here, but our worries and fears leak over it, spill over everything. So we miss it. We don't believe it's even here, and it is, because we're leaking. Second meaning of mantra is wisdom for man and tra for compassion. So by settling into something deeper than all of this worries and fears, our original mind, our still mind, we experience prajna, before knowledge, deep wisdom before knowledge. And then we're compassionate. When we're not caught by all this stuff, we're more compassionate, more genuinely compassionate. So Hinduism and Buddhism both have used mantras a lot for hundreds of years. And the traditional teachers talk about the meaning of the mantra and the vibration of the mantra. And traditionally, mantras were selected by teachers. I was going to ask for a show of hands about how many people have done TM, but see, I don't know how to do a show of hands. I would have to. Anyway, the people that I can see are, let's see, maybe do it. No, I can't seem to see many of you at all. Yeah, well, so there's no show of hands, I guess. Anyway, a lot of people who come to Zen Center did TM, a lot of people, or they're still doing something like that. And that was given by the teacher. So a mantra is said to induce samadhi, induce stillness, and have the beneficial vibes of samadhi, even if it doesn't induce it. And the original mantra, the first mantra, was Om. Om. Om means the creation of the universe. It contains every vibration that ever existed according to the Om people or will exist. And if we do Hindu or Buddhist mantras, we notice that Om is very often at the beginning of the mantra, Like I went to Bhutan, well, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, and did a little bit of practice there. And carved in the rocks were the Sanskrit, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. And the monks with their malas on, their prayer beads, were repeating themselves in a guttural kind of way. You couldn't understand it. Om Mani, da 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 da. But I asked them what they were repeating. That's what they were repeating. Om Mani Padme Hum, the jewel in the lotus. Padme Hum. Mani Padme, the jewel in the lotus. So here we are, right in the middle of the muddy water of this pandemic, which seems to be getting worse every day. Talk about muddy water, and the lotus is us. Can we find nurturance here? Can our roots go deep and find nurturance and manifest that jewel, that stillness that's right here? That's what the mantra is calling us to do, And if you have a Catholic background, maybe you did Hail Mary, or maybe you did Ave Maria. If you did it as a form of confession, I'm sorry, but maybe you did it as a real way of going beyond yourself, opening up to Ave Maria, opening up to Hail Mary. So mantras are rubbing a flint against a stone. The friction of the syllables lights the fire, which burns up all of this residue that's accumulated and that leaks over everything, spills over everything. So we forget how to just be, So simple, so simple. And we do it over and over again, because sometimes it doesn't seem to help, but we just keep doing it. And we can feel its resonance, and at any moment it can crack us open, at any moment. Not if we anticipate it, though. Not if we anticipate it. So the spiritual teacher Tina Malya says, mantras start to feel like your friends, even your lovers. Oh, that's interesting. Mantras start to feel like your friends, even your lovers. And in Zen, teachers don't give mantras too often, although students do use them, not too often. I had never heard of it, actually. When I was a young man and my teacher gave me the mantra to repeat, he gave me the mantra when I was having a difficult time. Instead of there being an external coronavirus, the coronavirus was internal, metaphorical in me. I was thinking, oh, this is so hard. Sitting here in this sesshin for 7 days, cramped in my body all over. So difficult that I began perspiring on probably the 5th day. Perspiring, I went in to see my teacher and he said, "You've been swimming in the ocean." He didn't have to be psychic to see that. He could just look at my shirt. And I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, you should repeat a mantra." I said, "Oh, okay. Anything to help." He said, "Yes, repeat the Heart Sutra mantra, which we chanted every day." He said, "Repeat that one. Gyate, gyate, para gyate, para sam gyate." And I said, "Well, thank you. And then I began repeating it. That's the Heart Sutra mantra. And the Heart Sutra mantra in India and in Tibet starts with Om. Om gyate gyate. Gone beyond. Gone, gyate gyate. Gone beyond, para gyate. Gone completely beyond, para sam gyate. So going beyond, going beyond the three hindrances, the three poisons, the hatred of pushing away everybody who's not paying attention to my talk, looks like they're sleeping, and pulling in everybody who's rapt, and then ignoring everyone else. Greed, hatred, greed, desire, and ignorance. Greed, desire, and ignorance. So I desire, I crave the attention of those of you who are really paying attention. You who aren't paying attention, go away. And then ignorance, I ignore the rest of you. So we move beyond that. Gata, gata. We move beyond that. And it's the feminine. Gata is feminine. We return to the womb of our mama, Prajnaparamita, the mother of Buddha. We return to her. She's here. She's undivided from us. She's never been divided. She's just undivided from us. Paragyate, beyond any categories, beyond any categories. Parasamgyate, including this category of beyond any categories, right? Including this category. Beyond the confines and the imprisonment of language. Language is great as long as it doesn't confine us and imprison us. It's an expression of our deepest self. That's wonderful. Back into the womb of our mother, our own womb. So I chanted this sutra, this heart sutra, for probably 5 years with my teacher, my first teacher, and then my second teacher for much longer. I chanted it. And I asked him to explain it to me, my first one, and he said, just chant it. For 5 years, he said that, and he never explained it to me. Is that good or bad? I don't know. That was his approach. Maybe it was good. Maybe, I'm not sure. So there are many mantras we can use for meditation practice. Prajnaparamita mantra, gate, gate, gone, gone, gone beyond, gone completely beyond, is just one. We can use, for instance, something like, may I meet this moment fully. May I meet this moment fully. Faith that an alert and balanced mind, it's a possibility. It's a possibility right in the middle of a pandemic to just be here, to just be here. May I meet this moment fully. May I meet it as a friend, as a friend. The mind at its deepest level is naturally kind mind. It doesn't discriminate. It's just kind because it is. Before knowledge, it doesn't kick out knowledge. It's more primal than knowledge. Prajna, before knowledge. So may I meet this moment fully. May I meet it as a friend. Or a second one, real but not true. Second one, real but not true. Well, what about real but not true? What about real but not true? So my friend, if she was doing that, had been doing that mantra, I don't think she's done mantras. And I thought about asking her to listen to my talk, but I thought that was a little presumptuous. Like I'm the one. We're all the one, right? We're all the one. Real but not true. So her thoughts and feelings about her family and her husband and her potential, her husband was very healthy, his potential death, just from hearing him cough 3 times before she got up. Those are real. They're real. We can't bypass them. They're real. But at the deepest level, they're not true. The deepest level, they're not true because there's something more bigger inside, quieter and bigger. It's inside and outside. And it's not a thing. It's not a thing. Covering up our still nature, our Buddha nature. Or then we could do the mantra, things as it is. A lot of people doing that mantra these days, which was made up by my first teacher, Suzuki Roshi. And I used to think that he was grammatically incorrect until I it was explained to me that he was actually being pretty wise. things, many things, many different types, many different people are worried about the coronavirus. Many people have different thoughts about it. Some people are immune, seem to be immune. Some people are getting sick. You know, we're getting bored or antsy, whatever. Many, many things, a multiplicity of things, the plural, and also the singular, as it is, as it is, as it is. Empathy, feeling, life as one interdependent whole. Life, death as one interdependent whole. Suffering together, experiencing joy together, living together, breathing together, worrying together, dying together. One whole, one complete whole. Things as it is. Pretty good mantra. Pretty good mantra. Many years ago, I went to the East Coast to do a retreat with Thich Nhat Hanh, and he gave us 2 mantras. And if you read Thich Nhat Hanh, you see he has quite a few mantras. And one of them he had us do on the first day was deep on the in-breath, peace on the out-breath. And on the second day, he had us do present moment on the in-breath, only moment on the out-breath. Those are good. Those are good. You need to find what works for you. You need to find what works for you without being too avaricious about it, without too if you're not doing so much comparing, just find one that resonates and really do it over and over and over again. And it can be anything. It can be one of the sacred ones, or it can be one that's very mundane. And I've talked before about how Alfred Lord Tennyson in the 19th century, who knew nothing about meditation, how he began sitting down quietly without putting his books aside and just looking and repeating his name to himself over and over again. He did it. And here's what he says. If I can find a quote, yes, here's what he says. 19th century British poet. He says, at some point, my individuality itself seemed to dissolve and fade away into boundless being, the loss of personality, seeming no extinction, but the one true life, the one true life. He didn't know anything about Buddhism or Hinduism, but he discovered this. He discovered this. And last week, those of you who were here, and you had a big group last week too, heard Ben Conley talk about using metta, using expressions from the Metta Sutra, the Loving Kindness Sutra. He didn't use the term mantra, but that's really what he was talking about as a mantra. For instance, may we feel safe, may we feel protected, may we be loved. May we feel safe. May we be protected. May we feel loved in these difficult times. In these difficult times. So at the end of the Heart Sutra class, which I just taught, I talked about mantras that I used in my own life, starting when I was 4 years old. I'm being a little facetious about that, but maybe don't you remember when you're 4, 5, 6, you repeated things to calm yourself down when you felt kind of out of sorts? So I was 4 years old, and I lived at the top of a street called Panoramic Way in Berkeley, Berkeley, California, where I'm from, with my parents and my baby sister, and there was nobody there. We were at the very top, except my parents and my baby sister, who didn't count as a being from my point of view. So she got too much attention, but that's a whole other story. And I was very lonely. So Bobby Shafto became my imaginary friend from my nursery school book. Bobby Shafto. And I would look out from my house out on to the San Francisco Bay, the Bay Bridge and the San Francisco Bay, and I feel lonely. I was there all by myself, no other kids up there. But I had Bobby Shafto as my best bud. So, and he was right there in my nursery book. And so I repeated to myself, Bobby Shafto's gone to sea. He'll come back to marry me. Right out of my book, Pretty Bobby Shafto. And I would repeat that over and over again, and then I would feel better. I would feel calm. Then, when I was in my 20s and at the Zen center, the Zen monastery, Tassajara, with my teacher, and I told you he gave me the Gyate Gyate mantra to repeat when I was having a really hard time. And I repeated that until something cracked open. Tim cracked open. Then, and I'm abbreviating my life, you know, I'm pretty old. Then, maybe 20 years after that, I was started giving talks at Zen Center, and I in those days was my worst critic. My inner critic turned into an inner tyrant, and it really beat me up before my talks and after my talks. Luckily, not during my talks, but beat me up. So I decided. So I didn't even decide. I just would say to myself, nice boy, Tim, nice boy. And it helped me. I calmed down before my talks. I'm a nice boy. That was my mantra. Nice boy, nice boy. And I did it a lot. Every time I was going to have to start giving a talk, I'm preparing for a talk, I start by taking some breaths, do a lot of nice boy stuff. So we can use anything. We can use anything. And then my most recent mantra, my son 25 years ago, I'm not sure how many years ago, got married to a woman whose family's from India. So we went to India to meet all her extended family, which is very important in that culture. And I was visiting little temples in southern India, and I heard people calling, Ma, Ma, Ma. And I went back and I researched it. You know, you can research so much stuff online now. I don't know if I did it online then, but that's what I do these days. Ma, Ma. And you know, when I heard them chanting that, I felt a deep opening inside, kind of a sadness, but it was more of a wonderful sadness than a bad sadness, a wonderful, deep sadness of the suffering of all life. And I felt still inside. Well, then I went and read about it and thought, oh, it's abbreviation for Amma, which means Kali, the great dark mother from which we all come and whom we all return to, just like Prajnaparamita in the Heart Sutra, the dark mother who's undivided from us, never been divided from us, but we ignore her. I mean, that darkness is our light. So for the last 20 or 25 years, that's been what I do a lot of the time when these thoughts come in. Ma, just to myself. Nobody knows. No, all you guys know, but I never even told my wife, you know, because, you know, I don't know. I always feel it's better to just do these things and not make a big deal out of it. Well, now it's a big deal, I guess, because it looks like 94 people know. Okay, that's fine. But really helpful to me, really helpful to me. You can find something, maybe you're already doing something that's really helpful to you. So those are mantras. Now I want to do gathas, G-A-T-H-A. Gathas also from Sanskrit, also from going back 3,000 years to the Vedas. Interesting, isn't it? Gatha means song or verse from the Sanskrit gai. They call us to the present moment. We join the breath, the mind, and the activity of the body with a deep, direct experience. Sounds a lot like mantra, doesn't it? But difference is, gathas tend to be intertwined with a single activity, drawing us into the flow and feel of a specific action. Also, gathas tend to be a little longer than mantras. Both gathas and mantras invite us into intimacy. and love, intimacy and love. So in the Zen Center building here, in the, I don't know when it was, probably the 1980s, we, yeah, I don't know, 1980s, I'm not sure when. We used to have gathas posted. Maybe Andrea, maybe you remember we had gathas posted. We had one outside the bathroom downstairs. We had one in the mirror downstairs. We had one in the kitchen. We had them all posted around. And so in retreats, in our Rahatsu retreats and our long retreats, people would help people before they went to the bathroom to stop, and they weren't required to, but there was no requirement. It just helps you center. So waking up in the morning, you can have a gatha, brushing your teeth, taking out the garbage, entering the meditation hall. We had one for shaving downstairs. And I was trying to remember, I don't know who else is here. Oh, Judy Melanat's here from the old days. I'd have to scroll through to see how. I don't know. We must have shaved down there. I'm sure the women didn't shave down there. So I think we stayed overnight more down. We shaved. So we had a nice gatha that Robert Aiken wrote she had written for shaving, which was really cool because he's a poet. But those gathas all disappeared. I don't know what happened to them. But in any case, no matter what activity we're doing, we can develop a gatha for it. And then we need to use that gatha. Or we can find a gatha for it to help us settle down in these turbulent times, settle down to this wonderful stillness that's always here. Life or death is here. Bad or good, it's here. Suffering or not suffering, it's here. It's here because it's not here. It's bigger than that. So here's some that I pulled from a guy named Andrew Weiss, and then followed by one by Thich Nhat Hanh. Andrew Weiss, driving a car. The car is my legs. It goes where I choose. When I drive with awareness, everyone lives in safety. The car is my legs. It goes where I choose. When I drive with awareness, everyone lives in safety. Driving a car. Turning on the television. I don't know how many of you are turning on more television. Maybe you've made a pledge to turn on less television. Maybe for the first day or two, you wanted to keep learning about coronavirus, and you thought, enough, give me a break from media. Turning on the television. Mind and television receive what I choose. I select well-being and nourish joy. Mind and television receive what I choose. I select well-being and nourish joy. Preparing food. Earth, water, sun, and air all live in this food I prepare. Earth, water, sun, and air all live in this food I prepare. Thich Nhat Hanh, before taking food, my bowl, empty now, will soon be filled with precious food. Beings all over the world are struggling to live. How fortunate we are to have this. My bowl, empty now, will soon be filled with precious food. Beings all over the world are struggling to live. How fortunate we are to have this. So to connect with any activity, so we can move into what's called the threefold purity. We're not caught by the idea of a speaker, of something we're saying, and some object of our saying. We're just doing what we're doing. We're just doing it. Here's one a friend of mine developed about feeding cats in the morning. Feeding cats in the morning. Breathing in, I hear the sound of a snapping lid. Breathing out, I smell beef or chicken. Spooning food into your bowl before the sun rises. I bid you good morning, my feline friend. I bid you good morning, my feline friend. Breathing in, I hear the sound of a snapping lid. Breathing out, I smell beef or chicken. Spooning food into your bowl before the sun rises. I bid you good morning, my feline friend. So, as with mantras, as you can see, we can compose our own gathas, inspired by our daily experience. Any activity that we regularly perform, we can use. We can create and memorize a gatha, or we can choose a traditional one. Those are wonderful, those traditional ones. So then we have meditation in motion. Then we have zazen in motion. So I'd like to suggest there are 3 steps for kind of getting mantras and gathas into us, which you don't have to follow. That's just my suggestion. We recite it first, we synchronize it with our breathing, and then we simplify it by getting it down to a few key words so it's not so discursive. Like when I first started doing the gate, I did gate, para, parasam, gate. But then I went into and asked my teacher, well, should I repeat? Or I do the whole thing or just one word? He said, oh, one word's fine. You can just do gate. And that helped me settle in a little more, because when I had to do the whole thing, I got a little more discursive. But you play it by ear. You learn by ear, by practice. That's how we learn. That's how we learn this. Not by thinking about it, but by practice. Thinking about it helps, but by practice. So 3 steps then. It's reciting it, knowing what it is, reciting it, then synchronizing it with our breaths, then simplifying it. So I wrote one. So about 7 or 8 days ago, I thought, well, I'm going to talk about mantras and gathas. And I was walking down to the lake. I just live a few blocks from Makaska. Every day I walk to the lake. So I did a little mantra or gatha, whatever you want to call it, when I went down to the lake. And then I was going to recite it every day when I went to the lake. But after about 3 days, the lake was so full of people that I thought, geez, I can't go down there anymore. I got to go start walking in the cemetery. Don't walk in the cemetery, you guys. I'm being facetious. Not very many people know about the Lakewood Cemetery. So that's where I've been walking, because I can keep my social distance from people. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I wrote this. Looking at Bide Makaska, seeing my true nature in its reflection. Heart, mind at peace. Looking at Bide Makaska, seeing my true nature in its reflection. Heart, mind at peace. So step 1, stopping before going down the stairs, aware of the down the stairs to the left, aware of the in-breath and the out-breath, observing the beauty of the ice is gone all of a sudden, and the lake is reflecting everything, everyone, everything. Observing that beauty, reciting the gatha. Step 2, synchronizing it with the breath. Each line with an in-breath or an out-breath. Looking at Bide Makaska on the in-breath, seeing my true nature on the out-breath, even if I don't see it. It's a seeing that comes out of this practice. A seeing that maybe seems superficial at first, but becomes very deep. Seeing my true nature in its reflection as I breathe in again, heart, mind at peace as I breathe out again. The 3rd step is shortening the mantra or the gatha. After I've practiced with it for a while and internalized it, then I'm down at the lake, and all I need to do is looking, breathing in, seeing my true nature, breathing out, peace, breathing in and breathing out. And who knows what will happen? Who knows what will happen? And don't look for a result, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Something wonderful, but I don't know what. At least you're cutting through all of that chatter that you get consumed by, and all of that heaviness in this time of crisis. We've never known anything like this. I remember, I'm older than you guys, so I remember my parents talking about World War II. Uh, uh, and that was a very hard time for many, many people in this country. But we've never experienced anything like this before. And we don't know. We don't know what next is. We don't know. So three more examples of mantras and gathas. From work that I've done with students the last, I don't know how long, last few years. One, checking the weather. So I have a student who is an obsessive weather checker, as I kind of am. Maybe this one should be for me, not my student. I like to check the weather a lot. You know, all you do is tap that one. It's so easy. You tap it. So tapping that icon on the phone, she does it. She did it every morning before getting dressed, and she turned that into a gatha. She clicked the icon. She breathed. She inhaled and noticed the temperature. She exhaled and silently said to herself, "Things as it is." Even if the temperature was 10 below and there was going to be no sun for a week, things as it is, using my teacher's statement, things as it is. Short circuiting all the, yuck, it's going to rain. When's it going to get warm? What am I doing in Minnesota anyway? I had a chance to move somewhere else. Short circuiting that stuff. Things as it is. As it is. As it is. Wonderful mantra. Wonderful gatha. Checking social media. I don't check social media too much because I'm an old guy. I've actually never been on Facebook. I know we have a Facebook page, and thanks to Bouchot, lots of things I say get posted on that page, but I've never opened it. I could. I'm kind of curious now. Maybe I will. Anyway, for all of you younger people, checking social media. Before you click the icon, take a breath. Observe what's going on in your state of mind. Notice your judgments. Realize your urge to have something interesting to look at. Notice that if it's become kind of a drug in this pandemic when you're just holed up at home for your restless little self. You're one link to the outside. Maybe you want to go on your Facebook page. I know about this from talking to my kids. How many likes and follows did I get? For which posts? Yes, maybe you want to keep track. Something to do during the pandemic. Your little self just looking for something. But how about just clicking as you breathe in, watching my thoughts? As you breathe out, returning to my body, noticing your throat, belly, jaw, feet, just being with it and repeating it to yourself. It doesn't mean you don't do the clicking anymore and you don't check it out, but you're not transfixed by it. You're not transfixed by it. Third one, taking a shower. We have robot movements often when we do these activities, taking a shower. How about turning it to an exercise of feeling good? I breathe in, feeling the warm water. I breathe out, letting go of worries and concerns, and then shortening it to warm water, letting go, warm water, letting go. We can do this with any actions that are mindless and automatic in our lives. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Pretty wonderful. Anything can be the seed for spiritual transformation. We can turn all our road activities into little gateways into stillness, into openness, into joy, right in the middle of the pandemic, right in the middle of our confusion. We can do that. We can do that. We can loosen the tangle of our thoughts. And it's sometimes we will crack open to something deep and loving and all embracing. And when this happens, our mind drops into our heart. Our mind just drops into our heart. And that's why we call it heart mind in Zen. We call it heart mind because the mind drops into the heart. The mind is still there, but the heart mind is one. And it joins with the breath and the activity, returning us to our deepest self, heart mind, heart mind. So let's see, how long have I talked for? I know I can scroll up the page and it will tell me that I've talked for 43 minutes. Okay, I talked for 43 minutes. So now I want to suggest, if you'd like to, that you do a little 1 or 2 minute breathing with me, that we do 3 meta breaths, and then have a little discussion. So 3 meta breaths, and I'm going to suggest what you do, but you can do your own meta breath, your own words. On the in breath, may all beings be safe. On the out breath, may all beings be protected. On the in breath, may all beings feel loved, safe, protected, love. Or use your own words. And do it 3 times. Traditionally, in so many aspects of Zen and Buddhism, we do something 3 times. So let's do it 3 times. I'll be quiet for 2 or 3 minutes, and then come back and have a little discussion with those of you who'd like to discuss. Thank you. Thank you.